Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex, my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. Today, we want to take a look at some clips from the New York Giants versus Chicago Bears film. I know most of you guys don't want to see this stuff, but I think there's one sequence of events in this film, Anthony, that justifies Joe Judge being fired alone. This is one of the worst 4 plays I've ever seen in my life. It is an indication of bad special teams and bad offense. And we know Joe Judge has spent a lot of time as a special teams coordinator in the past. And for a guy to do this, what you're going to see as a former Pro Bowl level guy, it's just so bad. And I can't even begin to start, breaking down, just the inept and the just poor execution discipline of this team. And this 4-play sequence that we're going to start off with is just awful, Anthony. But before we dive into this, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. I think, to say that someone should be fired on an offense of 4 plays is pretty bold, but I think I have an idea of which plays you're talking about, and you might actually have a pretty strong argument for firing a head coach over these plays, because if I recall, they're pretty gross, pretty ugly, and did show a lot of undiscipline and lackadaisical performances out of the New York Giants players, a lot of laziness, which does usually reflect pretty poorly on the head coach. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Giants do, but I'm excited to take a look at these 4 plays and see if you guys in the comment section down below think this is a fireable offense for Joe Judge.
Absolutely. And guys, I promise you, it doesn't get much uglier than this. This is just a funny, a funny picture that I saw. Whoever made this is going straight to hell, but I absolutely love it. I saw this and just almost burst out laughing with water in my mouth. It was just absolutely hilarious seeing Joe Judge's face on Antonio Brown. My God, so funny. But the first clip, Anthony, is a kickoff, and I'm sure you already predetermined this kickoff play. Right. Giants receiving the ball. Bears just scored. And Pharaoh Cooper, you'll see him. He's in the bottom left, back left of the field. This is a former Pro Bowl kick returner. I don't know if he lost his mind on this play or the wind. I don't know what it is, but he lets this ball bounce in live play, and it stays in live play, and he doesn't realize until the Bears are almost there. And if you don't know the rules, if the Bears recover this, it's the same thing as an onside kick. If they recover this, it's a turnover. The Bears get the ball. So watch what he does here. Bears kick it off. Pharaoh Cooper, all right, the ball lands. Okay, guys, the ball lands right where he is. I don't know how he's already determined this ball is going into the end zone, but it lands. He walks forward, and it lands right behind him, within 2 yards. The wind definitely had an impact, but they have to know the wind is blowing that way. It's just terrible IQ, terrible awareness, and another testament of the lack of discipline and execution this Joe Judge team shows on a weekly basis. And the ball bounces in the zone. And look, by the time he picks it up, there is 2 defenders within 10 yards of him. If he picks this up, it's awful. And ultimately, it actually ends up being even better, even better for Chicago, because you'll see in the next 3 plays how the Giants managed to turn this into an even worse situation.
Yeah, and what I'll say about this play is, Pharaoh Cooper has proven to be a pretty good player in the past. He's been to a Pro Bowl, and he's even been playing well for the Giants recently. But if there's one thing that I remember from Joe Judge's opening presser with the Giants is he said that this team is going to be detail-oriented. They're going to pay attention to the details, get everything right. That play, this kickoff, is a lack of attention to details. For a kick returner to just not be paying enough attention to the ball, I don't know if he forgot. Maybe he thought it was like a punt. If it bounces into the end zone, it's done. If the other team recovers it, it's just, they get the ball at that spot. Maybe he forgot that, but with the ball rolling on the ground like that, any Chicago Bear defender could have dove on that ball, rolled into the end zone, and that's a touchdown, because that's exactly what happens on an onside kick. If the other team recovers, it's their ball, they can advance it. This was just major lack of attention to detail, a huge brain fart on Pharaoh Cooper's end, and it's really just surprising. Like, I have no reason to explain what happened here. Like, I don't understand what happened to Pharaoh Cooper here. And, maybe this is solely on Pharaoh Cooper, but these are the things. Joe Judge made promises. This football team would not make stupid mistakes like this. They would have the details ironed out. They would have attention and focus from start to finish. But a play like this is just no attention paid, no focus, lack of attention to details, and it goes against everything that Joe Judge promised. So if we do want to connect these plays to the head coach and show why it's his fault, That's where I'm coming from. I think that this is a major lack of attention to detail, and that's something that Joe Judge has stressed repeatedly throughout his reign as the head coach is attention to details, and this was an utter failure in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, and look, if he catches this, he has a pretty nice lane up the middle here with some good blocking. If he catches this, but of course he lets it bounce, and you'll see the impending 3 plays here and why. I mean, this alone is just embarrassing. I mean, Joe Judge's former special teams coach. This is unacceptable for him. I can't even imagine, a good team pulling that kind of move. Now, first play after this, Giants 3 yard line, 4 yard line. They have a little bit of a cushion. First play, let's go ahead and lose 2 yards with Devontae Booker. Bam, stopped immediately behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, the offensive line gets absolutely tossed. I mean, look at Matt Skura. Look how quickly the center gets beat here. It's right off the snap. Bam, beat. He's already beat. Guys in the backfield. Matt Skura, holy hell. I didn't think he'd get any worse than Billy Price, but he can. Devontae Booker gets stopped for 2 yards there. And then the next play, they're backed up on the 1 yard line, 2 yard line, and they get a false start from this guy, Kelly. I don't think I've ever seen him in my life. He's playing left guard here. False start from Kelly. Bam, it's just he flinches. They get moved a couple inches back, and then the third play of this entire thing, Devontae Booker gets stopped in the backfield for a loss, and which ends up being a safety. Now I don't know who that was, 63 or 76. I know it's Nate Solder there, but let's see who gets beat here. It looks like everybody gets beat there. Every single player gets beat. The entire offensive line is overwhelmed, and honestly, you're better off throwing in the end zone at that point because your offensive line is so bad. No way you're going to stop them.
I have a few takeaways from all of this big mess right here. First of all, this is arguably the worst offensive line that I've ever seen play football. Like, it's that bad. They just
Easily.
can't make a block. They miss on every single play. It's really disgusting and pathetic. The next thing, the false start, lack of discipline. Joe Judge preaches all the time. This is a disciplined football team. You won't see us make stupid mistakes that puts us in a position to give the other team points. That's exactly what happened here. There's just not enough discipline. And it's such a bad offensive line. This is not like a winning formula. And then I'll also go out there and say the play calling here, also not the best. It was halfback dive on all 3 plays. You could probably get something a
Exactly.
little bit more creative. You could maybe go with a stretch play, make it a 2-on-1, a duo, right? Like a duo blocking scheme where you have a 2-on-1 on the right tackle and right guard on a defensive lineman, and then you can just plunge forward for a couple of yards. That's one way to do it. The other way, when you're on the 1 yard line, here's a great idea: QB sneak. It's so freaking difficult to lose yardage on a QB sneak because you're getting the ball at the
Giants can
line of
do it.
scrimmage and then falling forward. All you have to do is just fall forward for a yard, and then you're safe and you can punt without giving up a safety. That's all they had to do here, was just call a QB sneak rather than handing the ball off 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage and trying to gain that yardage back. That's a bad play call, in my opinion. This whole sequence is ugly from the head coach, super ugly from the offensive line, and also ugly from Freddie Kitchens, the play caller. This is not good job here. Just halfback dive 3 times in a row. Terrible, terrible idea. They definitely should have gone with a QB sneak or some sort of duo blocking scheme on the right side or even the left side behind Andrew Thomas, since he's a great player. Run behind him, gain a couple yards here. But when you're backed up on the 1 yard line, the half-yard line, like they are on this play, to call a halfback dive, a handoff up the middle, is just an awful idea, in my opinion. That should have been a QB sneak, and that's where they should have gone with that. Save yourself from, taking a safety. Just punt the ball and live to see another drive.
I mean, every single offensive lineman lost their one-on-one battle. And then this is look, this is the first play of the game. This is the first play of the game. A lot of people, had their opinions on this, but this is Mike Glennon's fault, right? The protection, they're all going 1v1. There is an unblocked guy on the right side of your screen. You'll see him. He's unblocked. He's all the way outside, wide of Nate Solder on the right side. He goes unblocked. This is a hot route. This is a hot read for Mike Glennon. He's got to get the ball out quickly. He's got to get this thing out very fast. But ultimately, his receivers aren't open. They're just totally locked down. He waits too long, and he gets absolutely walloped, and Chicago turns the ball over and gets the ball on the goal line on the first play of the game. This is like, if you're a defender for the Giants, you have the worst life. You're just taking a beating every week because you are on the field all game long. I mean, bam, he gets nailed. First play of the game. He has to get that ball out, even if he knows that it's going to be incomplete. Throw it at the dirt, man. Just get it out of there. Like, don't take this hit. Just throw it at his freaking legs. Who cares? Get the ball out. He knows the guy is coming, and if he doesn't know, Mike Glennon should not be an NFL quarterback. And I think we can all affirm at this point he shouldn't be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there, but I do want to point out a couple things here. This is likely on more than one player, but who I'll say that it's on, there's a really good chance that this is on the center. And I know that the Giants were playing with a different
No
center than they were
communication.
last week. It's a really good, it's very possible that the center just misread this and didn't call out the right protection. Clearly, they slid left and they should have slid right if you watch. But I also am really confused why the Giants would go empty backfield against this defensive front. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up front, and you're only blocking 5. I'm really confused why they wouldn't call the running back into the backfield or call some sort of audible here just to have an unblocked rusher against the Chicago Bears defense. It's a bad idea. It's a terrible idea. And also, you could probably say that it might just be on Nate Solder. Maybe he should have checked with the right guard, said, "Hey, slide this way, I'll slide that way." Not just leave the defensive end just rushing right off the right edge. Maybe Nate Solder thought there was a running back in the backfield. Maybe there was supposed to be a running back in the backfield, and Mike Glennon made a mistake and forgot to put him in motion. I'm not entirely sure, but that is just really, really bad blocking design by the New York Giants offensive line, and I'm not sure where the communication went so wrong on that play.
Yeah, I mean, it's every play. It's not even just that play. It's every play. There's lack of communication. You could pass the blame around to anybody on that line or the quarterback, and I think it's pretty healthily spread around. But let's take a look here. Will Hernandez, 71, having a pretty tough stretch of games in the second half of the season. It does not get better against the Bears. Now watch this. Completely overwhelmed, sack. Mike Lennon goes down. This is a weekly occurrence for Will Hernandez at this point in time. First of all, I don't really get this entire protection. It makes sense, but I don't really get Will Hernandez here. I don't know what he's doing. He's off balance. He's lunging forward. Look, he's lunging here. The guy's already around him. Just stand your ground. Let him come to you. He's being too aggressive. He's attacking him, and he's getting overwhelmed immediately. He just freaking sit there, take a step back, let him come to you, absorb that contact. Instead, he's trying to be too aggressive, and the guy's burning him. The guy just goes right by him. This just happens every single week, and I don't really get what they're trying to do here. He's trying to give Mike Lennon time, but instead he's overly aggressive, and I don't really get it. I don't think it's necessary, but ultimately, Will Hernandez really struggled here the last couple of weeks, and it hasn't gotten much better. And then, on this play here, Mike Lennon gets absolutely overwhelmed. It's just awful. He gets crushed. I mean, look at this. Right here, he's gotten rid of the ball, and he just gets freaking destroyed, like suplexed over here. It's unbelievable to see the offensive line gets beat across all fronts. Like this guy, and let me say, Matt Skura, look at Matt Skura. Look at the center here. Look at Robert Quinn coming off the edge. Watch Matt Skura try to stop him coming full speed. This is absolutely hilarious. He just goes flying. Like, what's the point of that? Like, why are they running that? Why is he being pulled? Why isn't the running back? Why isn't the running back trying to help? Like, what?
I don't
Why is the
understand this
center
protection
pulling?
scheme.
It doesn't make any
This
sense.
is such a bad protection scheme. Like
It makes no sense.
You have to have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL to run a protection scheme like this, where the center is pulling on a play action passing play. That is just
From a
so
full
bad.
speed Robert
Like,
Quinn.
why would they call that play? And credit to Mike Lennon, he got rid of the ball in a pretty clever way. But there's a really good chance that on this play, with him getting manhandled this way, this is the play where he got injured. You see two people fall, and he does land on his left side. There's a good chance that this is where he injured his wrist. Credit to him for getting the ball out quick and making something happen. But man, that is just, I've never seen a protection scheme so bad for such a bad offensive line. Like, that could work if you have, maybe the Eagles offensive line or the Bucks offensive line, but the New York Giants offensive line, ain't no way you're pulling that play off right there. It's a terrible call.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's take a look at some quick rapid fire positive clips. Lorenzo Carter has been really, really great the last couple of weeks. 4 sacks, I think the last 3 games, a bunch of hurries, maybe 7, 8 hurries, and a quarterback hit. He's been really good. This is one of his sacks. He uses this long arm approach, his long arm bull rush, and he really pushes his left tackle right into Andy Dalton's lap, and he just finishes up the sack. He's looked really good. If he was going to come back on a cost-efficient contract, I wouldn't mind it. I think he's a good player. I think he's coming off that Achilles tear, and he's looking a lot stronger. And here you can see him here against the run. He seals that edge so well. David Montgomery tries to cut back across the left side, and he seals that edge, cuts the angle off, and wraps up the tackle for a loss. Another really nice play by Lorenzo Carter. He's looked just like a stud the last couple of weeks. And then David Sills, like a little David Sills army. If you're a part of that army, here is a nice little clip for you. Aggressive blocking out on the edge in the run game. getting a little chippy with that cornerback. Sorry, this looks like someone in the middle of the desert took this video. The the quality of it, but nonetheless, you can see David Sills getting some nice reps in there. But that was really the only 3 positives from this entire game, guys. A couple of Lorenzo Carter snaps, a David Sills going overly aggressive on a running game, on a run play. This is where we're at. You know, we're picking some straw right now, trying to figure out any positives from this game. And like I said, the first couple of clips, I don't know how you justify that. Joe Judge definitely is implicated in the poor execution discipline of this team up to this point, Anthony. It's really sad, but ultimately, you know, we got to go forward. Hopefully, I guess at this point, we're trying to figure out if, you know, he's going to be fired, if the next general manager, who that's going to be, if they're going to keep him. A lot is left to unfold. Unfortunately, the NFL had to expand to 18 weeks this year. A very bad year for us to have to watch the Giants for an extra game. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Just take a look at some film, take a look at some clips. Make sure to like and subscribe below on YouTube, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.